going to go ahead and kick off. So thanks everyone for attending and excited about today's session. All right, for those that just joined, we're going to get started in about a couple minutes. So 2 minutes and we'll go ahead and kick off. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started in about a minute. So countdown is 1 minute from now. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining. Excited about this month's, CompuSoft Digital Ideation webinar. Two great speakers that are going to talk about relevant topics and what's really kind of transforming the AI shift right now, what we're seeing from that standpoint. It's interesting as we do these webinars, we always kind of look at the data. And what was surprising is that we had about 50% IT, folks join and about 50% business. And what that kind of means is that this is a universal area that companies are trying to figure out. And what better way than to align business and IT constituents together than to rally around AI, starting with data, which we're going to speak to. And we do these types of webinars once or twice every month. And the objective is to provide educational, informative, but more importantly, fun information that the channel and folks can gravitate towards. So with that said, we're going to jump in. But before we do, just as a reminder, we do have another webinar coming up October 29th. It's going to be a fireside chat where we're going to ask thought leaders about what they're seeing from an AI frontier and digital innovation perspective. Arnold Leap is going to join us. He was the previous CIO recently of 1-800-Flowers. He's going to talk about some of the things that they did and some of the concepts that he's introducing and thinking about. We also have Pooja that works for Microsoft. She's the head of the business apps around AI and intelligence. So not only will we have a customer point of view, but we'll also have a product specialist point of view as well. And then Mr. Rossi as well from a CTO and VP of strategy on what he's seen from a consulting perspective. So we have a end customer, we have a product SME, and then we have a consulting company that gives us kind of balance around the session. So really excited about that. There's going to be about 6 questions that we're going to ask the folks, and then they're going to talk about it from a conceptual perspective. And I'm sure people will be able to find good value out of those events and some of the topics discussed. But real quick, just a little bit about your host. CompuSoft Digital, we're a #1 frontier Microsoft digital transformation partner focused on AI, business apps, those types of things. We have about 500 innovators, been in business for about 25 years as such, and then really kind of focus on delivering the Microsoft stack. So Greg Moser, president of CompuSoft, and glad to share the next 44 minutes with everyone. Now, from an agenda perspective, intros and welcome, we're almost done with that. Then we're going to move into Pascal's, talk track around the data foundation for AI. Really excited what Pascal is going to talk about. He is a thought leader in this space, works on the financial services area, but has years of experience. So, sharpen your pencils, get ready to kind of listen to some of the best practices, and I'm sure everybody's going to walk away with some great content that they can execute on immediately. Then Mr. Rossi is going to wrap us up. He's going to talk about some of the business outcomes that he's seeing in the space, but we're also going to talk about a couple illustrative use cases and what it means to you. And then we do have, time at the end to ask the experts any questions that come up. From a housekeeping perspective, just feel free to put your questions in the chat window, and we'll respond to those accordingly. Now, before we start, when we look at digital transformations and really empowering your AI initiatives and things like that, we always start with balance. This little PP, S model, people, process, technology. So people, who's going to use it both internally and externally? From a process perspective, how do we optimize that to make it high performing so that it's efficient, succinct interactions across every single touch point that we have with our customers, employees, and partners? And then we have this thing called technology, right? And that's really what we're going to highlight in the balance discussion, along with the people and process, is how the Microsoft ecosystem can really accelerate some of these processes and really empower some of the people through agents, AI, all empowered by Microsoft Fabric from that standpoint. So as we kind of continue to move forward within the session, think about data first, right? Unless you have a data first strategy, you're never going to get to the AI outcomes that you're looking for. And Pascal is going to really kind of drill down on that. Then both John and Pascal are going to show you the power of Microsoft from an AI perspective, Copilot and Copilot Studios and autonomous agents, speaking about, how real life customers have benefited with enriched and empowered and quality data in these initiatives. And then from there, we're going to go into the use cases, talk about best practices and things and tips and tricks that you need to think about. So again, very excited about our speakers today. Blessed to have Pascal on the call and Mr. Rastia. And with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the fun stuff. So Pascal, the floor is yours, my friend, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are. So Pascal Bolot here on the phone. I lead the Cloud and AI Platform organization within the US FSI organization that we have at Microsoft. This organization looks after the top 350 financial services customers across the US, and that's across banking, insurance, and capital markets. I've been at Microsoft for 28 years now. And so today I'm going to give you a brief overview of Fabric. I have only half an hour, so of course I'm not going to be able to talk about everything that we have in Fabric. It would require 2 hours, but I'm going to try to give you a sense of what Fabric is and how you can leverage basically Fabric to kind of advance your journey in AI and becoming a frontier firm. All right, so there's no doubt that we all know that AI is transforming the world, but what we also know is that the data is actually the fuel for AI. And so AI is only good as the data that you have, and you usually go through a process where you first unify your data, then you create AI-ready data. From there, you train maybe some models based on your data, so you have fine-tuned models. And finally, you are going to build intelligent solutions. So that's pretty much the journey that you want to look at, to take. But the reality is that you start here, and you have like a bunch of data everywhere spread across the organization, with a tech team having to work with business folks, copying copy of data here and there, loss of data, governance, data lineage, etc. And then when you want to come up with a solution, well, when you look at the landscape of the data and AI, this is what the landscape looks like. You have like product for data, product for AI. It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of basically go after. And if it was only the technology, that would be great. It's not just the technology. It's also the people. because of course there's a variety of different basically actors that are going to have to take a look at the data, work on it, extract insights from it, and help the data to be ready for AI consumption. And so one of the code that I like a lot that came from one of our chief data officer. Basically, his sentence was, "I am the chief data officer, and I don't want to be the chief integration officer," which is most of the time what they have to do to integrate data coming from all over the place. So for this, Microsoft, we have a platform, an overall platform to help you get to your AI journey. And so there's a lot of component in that platform. As you can see, there's a block for AI, a block for data, a block for infrastructure. All this, of course, relies on a trustworthy, basically, infrastructure where we are going to be able to help you follow the regulation if you are highly regulated, like financial services, compliance, et cetera, et cetera. But we also come up with tools for the developers, right? So Visual Studio, Copilot Studio, et cetera, et cetera. When you double click on this and you try to figure out what are the products in Microsoft that kind of help you there, well, you have Azure AI Foundry, which is our AI app server, if you will, where we can give you access to 12,000 language models, observability on those models, fine-tuning of those models, etc. Then you have the infrastructure, obviously, but then you have Microsoft Fabric. And Fabric is actually the topic of the day. So we are going to go deeper now into it. I'm going to play a first video that is going to give you a brief overview of what Fabric is, and then I will come back and give you more details.
Power your AI transformation by bringing all your teams and data together on one complete AI-powered data platform, Microsoft Fabric. With OneLake, you get an open and AI-ready data lake for the entire organization that can connect to data from anywhere in multiple ways, so that all users are working from the same copy across analytics engines. From data integration to data engineering, data science to real-time intelligence, your data professionals have all the tools they need in a pre-integrated and optimized SaaS environment. And they can extend Fabric further with native industry-specific workloads. With the new Fabric databases, you can provision simple, autonomous, and AI-optimized databases in seconds, ready to unlock innovative new scenarios for AI transformation. For large volumes of in-motion data, you can use real-time intelligence to ingest, transform, and explore data for instant insights. And you can define criteria to trigger downstream actions. All this intelligence can then securely flow to Power BI and the Microsoft 365 applications your people use every day, informing their decision-making with insights right where and when they need data the most. And everything is backed by category-leading security, governance, and compliance capabilities. Plus, Fabric empowers your people to accelerate productivity with Copilot and built-in generative AI features. All your data, all your teams, all in one place. This is Microsoft Fabric.
Okay, so a couple of months ago, those were the numbers in terms of the adoption of Fabric worldwide. So 19,000 Fabric customers, and then 70% of the Fortune 500 were using Fabric like a couple of months ago. I think that this number is now higher than that. So Fabric is here to solve this issue, going from multiple analytics services to actually a unified stack where you can get everything that you need on that stack, disconnected data sources to one place for all the data, and we are going to talk about how this happens. Isolated application within their own data sets versus having an entire estate available to your application, which changes the game, especially on the AI front. And finally, Gen AI built in actually in the product. So when you look at Fabric, this is basically the big picture of what we have. So at the bottom, you have some services that are available to all the experiences that we have at the top. So what you see at the top, data factory, data engineering, data warehouse, etc., we call those experiences. And so depending on your profile, you will have your own set of tools, but all those folks on the top will use the same infrastructure behind the scene, which is the data that they have access to. So behind the scene, we have this notion of OneLake, where all the data is going to be actually stored in a very standard format. And I'm going to come back to this a bit later. Purview is the layer that is going to help you do governance, data lineage, permission, classification, et cetera, So being able to give you the OneLake catalog that the video was talking about. And finally, you have a layer, an AI layer across the board. So regardless of the experience they're coming from, you will get AI. So we picked data engineering, data warehouse, and data science, and basically we grouped them into one category called analytics because the slide was not big enough. The reason why we have this new block here, database, that's because now we not only operate analytical type of workload, but also OLTP type of operational type of workloads. So Fabric, for instance, is able to host your SQL Server workloads as well. I'm going to come back to this in a second. All right, so when you look at Fabric and what it has to offer, you have three basically main dimensions. The first one is an AI-powered data platform. The second one is an open and AI-ready data lake. And finally, an AI-enabled business users. And we're going to go through the three categories so I can show you basically what we mean by that. So let's start with AI-powered data platform. So first, Fabric is a unified and SaaSified application. So basically, there's no technical knowledge that is required to be able to create a new data lake. That's just a SaaS application. You give 2 or 3 parameters, and everything will be basically done on your behalf. Fabric can host, as I said, operational and analytics workloads. And finally, allows basically to work in a full autonomous mode for the business users, the data scientists, the data engineers, etc. Well, we are customer zero of Fabric, so as you can imagine. So we have a team called IDs, which stands for Insights, Data, Engineering, Analytics, and System. And they are the #1 user of Fabric. And check the numbers here. 27,000 data sources, 420 petabytes of data, 35,000 data pipelines. So that team, what they do is that they gather all the insight that we collect from Xbox Live, from the consumer market, etc., and they expose that data to business users internally, or data engineers, or data scientists to be able to do their work. So that's pretty significant in terms of size, right, of this, of what Fabric can do for you. Now let's take a look at the second bucket, which was the OpenAI, open and AI-ready data lake. So here, Fabric is meant to be able to store data or connect back to data wherever it sits. It doesn't have to be in Microsoft ecosystem 100%. You can have like a mix of like 80% on Microsoft Azure, some of the data on-prem, and then some of the data on other cloud provider as well, because we do support this view, because our goal is to give you access to all the data that you have. So we cannot restrict that to Microsoft, basically, product, obviously. It's an open ecosystem, and I'm going to explain to you in a second why. And finally, we have this one lake catalog that is going to be able to help you basically classify the data, set permission on the data, figure out the data lineage, etc., etc. All right, so now I'm going to play another video that is going to show you how you can bring different data sources within Fabric in a very, very easy way. And we are going to have very different data sources like Apache Kafka, so real-time type of insights, Snowflake, Cosmos DB, AWS S3, Databricks, and Dataverse. All right, so basically, those are very different data sources, but still, with Fabric, we are going to be able to consolidate all this into one platform that is going to allow then the business users and all the other roles that we support, data scientists, data engineers, etc., to see all this as one. So they will have no clue that this is coming from different sources. So check this out.
My company, Contoso Wireless, is using Microsoft Fabric to unify our entire data estate so we can build a new generation of AI apps. And like most companies, Contoso Wireless has data everywhere. Fortunately, Fabric makes it easy to bring it all together. For example, our customer loyalty data is in Snowflake, Azure Databricks has the sales data, Dataverse has the customer support systems, Cosmos DB has the retail order tracking, and we can get our product inventory and catalog from Amazon S3 buckets. And not only that, we have streaming data for product deliveries we need to integrate as well. Let me show you how easy Fabric makes it for us to access all of these sources in a single unified lakehouse that is always up to date and in sync with the underlying systems. Let's create a new lakehouse, which is automatically provisioned and ready to use in seconds, and it's where we'll unify our data. Developing solutions in Fabric is easy, and it lets me work with any kind of data. Let's start by creating some shortcuts. Shortcuts let me access data through Fabric, but connect it directly to the underlying systems, so we're not actually copying the data. I just select the source and pick the data I want, and instantly it's available to use. And Fabric goes even further in letting us unify every type of data. It has a complete workload for real-time intelligence built in. This makes it easy to integrate real-time data with built-in support for a wide range of sources across Azure Event Hub, Azure IoT Hub, Amazon Kinesis, Confluent, and more. And in the Real-Time Hub, we've unified all of our organization's real-time feeds, making it easy to build on what we've already created. In this case, we've already set up a stream for shipment delivery notifications coming from Apache Kafka. If I open up the stream, with just a few clicks, I can configure it so it'll also send data to our lakehouse so we can integrate the data there as well. Switching back to the lakehouse, between our shortcuts, mirroring, and real-time feed, now we have data from 6 different clouds all easily integrated without any complex ETL or unneeded duplication of data. And we've brought in more than just tables of data. Here you can see we've also created shortcuts to text documentation files and images from our product catalog so we can integrate them into our AI apps as well. And now that we've unified all of our different data, I can use the SQL endpoint for the lakehouse to write a single SQL query that runs across all 6 of the different sources without me having to know or care that it's a mix of data sitting in AWS, mirrored from Cosmos DB, or being fed from a real-time stream. Every Fabric workload can now operate on the same one copy of our data. And since Fabric supports all of our data workloads end-to-end, we can use it to deliver the entire data layer for our AI applications. If I switch to one of my project workspaces, you can see a task flow diagram for the full solution end-to-end, all built in Fabric. In this example, Fabric is powering the data layer for one of our OLTP apps. This includes everything from data integration, to AI models for enriching data, to real-time eventing, and even invoice generation and reporting. And now, this also includes a fully featured SQL database from the new Databases workload in Fabric. Our SQL database in Fabric is not only integrated seamlessly with all of these other workloads, but is also self-optimizing with auto-tuning built in. Best of all, across all of these workloads, including databases, we have Copilot built in to help me work even faster. So now writing SQL is easier than ever. And most importantly, Fabric has full source control integrated with Azure DevOps and GitHub, so my organization can build, deploy, and manage everything in Fabric within our existing development processes across the board. As you've seen, Fabric is a game changer for both making it simple to unify all of our organization's data, and with every data workload integrated, providing a complete data platform for all of our AI-powered applications.
All right, so I'd like to point out that each time you saw preview in the video, it's just because the video is old, and so all those features are GA, generally available, okay? There's nothing in preview, it's just because the video is dating like maybe 1 year or something like this. Okay, so now let's talk about how we bring data and we make data available into Fabric. Well, you have 4 ways. The first one, you have a new project and you want to use Fabric to store that data. Well, the good news is that any data stored on Fabric is stored in a standard format, an open format, which is called Delta Packet, which is the format that Databricks came originally with. The good news also is that we can also expose that data as an iceberg storage, which would be helpful for Snowflake, for instance, which uses iceberg format. So the first way to bring data is to you have a new app and you want to store the data directly in Fabric. Off you go, and we will take care of everything for you. Second, you need something more advanced where you're going to bring data from different data sources. So you are going to need an ETL. Well, on Azure, our ETL is Azure Data Factory. Well, we have Factory embedded into Fabric. So basically, you can actually build your ETLs directly in Fabric. And we also have basically a Copilot that is going to help you actually build your ETL packages in Azure Data Factory. So that's the second way of doing it. So of course, if you want to have that data up to date, you need to make sure that that package, that pipeline that you are running, is running on a regular basis. So to make sure that the data seen on Fabric is up to date as much as possible. Third way, you have databases like Oracle, like SQL Server, etc. Well, we have a way to copy the data a fraction of seconds after it was updated on the original database with what we call mirroring. So the mirroring concept is basically we are going to use the concept of change data capture, CDC, and bring data as it is changed on the original databases. It will come its way to Fabric. So this way, you are always up to date. There's no pipeline to run or whatever. Each time the original database changes, then you will have the data up to date. And finally, the last way is to actually create a shortcut back to the data. So in this particular instance, we are not copying the data. We are simply having a shortcut, and you saw in a video a demo creating a shortcut back to AWS S3. But from the user standpoint, they will not know all those details. They will not know that some is mirrored, other is coming from an ETL, a third one was a brand new application, and finally the last one is a shortcut. They have no clue about that. They just see all this as one unique set of data that they can use. So I talked about the ETL. Those are all the data sources, and there are way more than that are supported in factory. So you can really bring data from pretty much everywhere. And there's an open SDK, by the way. And if you have something very proprietary and you don't have like a regular connector, you can actually write one. You can develop a connector and have that connector work with Fabric and the data factory. So now let's talk about the mirroring. So the other way of bringing the data. So those are all the sources that we support today, basically. So the question that you might have in mind is, okay, hold on. I have, let's say, 50 petabytes of data on my SQL Server or whatever. If I'm mirroring that data into Fabric, it means that I will have to pay for the cost of the storage. So I'm literally paying twice that cost. And then I will have to pay the compute for bringing that data every second that something is changing on the database. Well, I have good news for you, because that's not the case. So the storage, when you use mirroring, is free. Why? Because we consider that you're already paying for that storage on the original databases. So we don't want you to pay again for the same typical storage, and you don't pay for the compute neither. So anything that is required for us to mirror the data from the original database to the Fabric will not be billed to you. It costs zero. Okay, so this is how we bring basically data into the picture for Fabric. So now after that, there's a bunch of copilots that we have kind of developed to help all the experiences that you saw earlier on the top be way more easy to approach. So typically you will have a copilot for each of the category. You are going to have a copilot that is going to help you on the data factory side, on the ETL side. So helping you develop packages and make sure that you are fast in terms of how you are ready to bring data into Fabric. You are going to have a copilot for the data warehousing experience. So typically helping you writing SQL code, explaining what a typical SQL query is doing, helping you with fixes on the code, etc., etc. On the data engineering and data science side of the house, we have a copilot for notebooks for Python. And by the way, don't pay attention to public preview. This is available now, GA. So you are going to have a copilot helping you write Python code within the notebook that you are going to open directly in Fabric. So the idea here with Fabric is that depending on the experience that you choose, you will have the right environment for you. So for instance, the data engineers, when they choose the data engineering experience, they will have an environment where they write SQL code, where they can kind of check their queries, see the execution plan, see the results of the queries, etc. When a data scientist pick the experience data science, then it's a different environment that they will see. They will see a notebook with Python and kind of cells, etc., etc. We also have a copilot helping for the real-time data coming in, so the real-time intelligence, because that's a slightly different way of approaching things. And finally, you have also a copilot on Power BI, because Power BI is one of the experience that we have on Fabric, meaning that Power BI is super fast because of how we optimize the storage with the Delta Parquet open format. So Power BI is the copilot for Power BI is allowing you to create new Power BIs, ask questions about the dashboard that you have, etc., etc. So that's pretty powerful, and that is changing basically the game in terms of how we interact with the data. All right, so now you heard a lot about agentic. And of course, we could not bring agentic AI into Fabric, obviously. So what is the number one usage when you have a data lake like this, one lake? What is the number one usage? Well, how about asking questions about my data? How about just having an agent who is able to answer all the questions that I have about the data? Well, this is what we call the data agent. So basically, as part of Fabric, you have this notion of data agent that is going to enable you to create as many agents as you want that are going to be experts on a subset of your data. It can be on all the data, but generally it's not really super realistic because you will never have somebody who can ask questions on any part of the one leg that you have. So you can create data agents that are kind of targeting a specific subset of the data. So the best thing is to show you how this works in a video. So check this out. It's pretty compelling in terms of the power of this.
In this demo, we are going to create an AI data agent in Microsoft Fabric. This is the item formerly known as AI Skill, and we are very excited to announce that we are renaming Fabric AI Skills to Fabric Data Agents. A data agent is an item you can create to enable chat with your data. All I need to do is give it a name, and I am immediately navigated to my creator experience. I can now configure and test this data agent, and it will be an expert on top of my data in Fabric. The first step is choosing the data that my data agent is going to know about. I can select and mix and match from a whole variety of sources, including lakehouses, semantic models, and KQL databases. The goal is to create an agent that is going to know about customer sales, customer loyalty, and package deliveries. I'll start by adding a semantic model containing customer loyalty data. I can select the tables I want my agent to know about, and then immediately start testing it. I'll start by asking, who are the top 5 loyalty customers? Here, we can see that the agent outlines the steps it took to get the answer, including the query it used, in this case, a DAX query. This provides transparency and helps the creator to verify whether the answer is correct or not. And this answer looks correct. Next, I am going to add another data source, this time a lakehouse containing customer details and sales data. Since I want my agent to be aware of customer and sales data, I'm going to select the customer table, product table, and internet sales. Now, as we add more data sources, we may need to guide our agent by giving it a hint about when to use which data source. For this, I'm going to leverage the AI instructions to give it some guidance. This is similar to training a new junior data engineer or analyst on where to find answers to various types of data questions. Now, let's ask another question to test if the agent can provide additional customer details. What else can you share about these customers? Here, we can indeed see that the agent returned customer details, but we also see that the agent used data from the semantic model to answer this question. However, we want it to query the lakehouse, since that source contains most up-to-date customer information. In order to guide the agent on how to answer this question, we can add an example query. This will guide our agent on how to retrieve the additional customer information, such as columns to return, when asked to share customer details. Let's open the example queries for the lakehouse and add a question. And then we can simply add the correct query. And if we ask the question again, we can see that the data agent is now considering the example query and retrieving the specified information from the lakehouse. We can also see the SQL query it ran to get the answer. As our agent is operating on enterprise data, security rules like RLS and CLS are always respected. The data agent works seamlessly on top of Fabric's big data engines, meaning that it can operate on top of very large data sets. Now you've seen how creators can iterate, refine, and improve their data agents. After some time configuring this data agent, we'll have an agent that can answer a large variety of questions. Here, you can see that we've evolved our data agent by adding more data sources, like an event house KQL database, containing package delivery data. This agent also has a much larger set of instructions to help refine its answers. And we've added more example queries, also for the event house database. Next, let's ask this agent some questions about late deliveries. We want to find out if any of our top loyalty customers, also known as Diamond Status customers, have experienced delayed deliveries. These customers are prioritized, and we want to ensure they have a great end-to-end experience. Let's ask, for Diamond Status loyalty customers, show me the number of late deliveries. Break it down per customer name. The agent provides an answer that looks correct. In fact, it managed to retrieve these answers by performing multiple steps and querying across multiple data sources. First, it had to get the Diamond Status customers from the semantic model. Use their names to query the lakehouse to find the correct customer keys. And finally, use those customer keys to query the deliveries from the event house database. This would have taken me so much longer to do manually. We can now test our agent to see if it can help with analysis about the reasons of these delayed deliveries. Lastly, let's ask, what are the reasons for these late deliveries? Categorize the reasons and highlight the delivery couriers that frequently have had delayed deliveries. We'll give it some time to retrieve the answer. Here in the results the agent returned, we can see a breakdown of different categories of delays, such as unavailable customers, damaged packages, and delivery truck breakdown. We can even see which couriers were experiencing these. Our data agent is now tested and ready to be consumed. To enable this, we first have to publish our agent and give it a description that describes what it knows. This will make our data agent available for consumption inside Fabric, and now also from Azure AI Foundry. We are very excited to announce the public preview of Fabric data agents integrated in AI Foundry Agent Service. This means that you can now build data agents in Microsoft Fabric and use these agents as tools or knowledge for agents in AI Foundry. In this way, you can build multi-agent systems with expertise about your enterprise data for a variety of solutions. We look forward to see what you will build with these new capabilities.
Okay, and again, this is available today. It's no longer in preview. This video was recorded back in March. We are now GA on this one. One last thing I want to show you today before I wrap up my presentation is what we call AI functions. So we are in this mode of AI everywhere and language model everywhere. How about we help the data engineers by using AI function directly, basically from their code, actually data scientists or data engineers using Python code. So basically those functions are ready to use, and the best thing is to see this in demos. And again, this is available as of today. So let me show you what it means from with a quick demo.
Let's say we're in a Fabric notebook trying to analyze customer reviews of clothing orders. The first thing I'm going to do is drag in a CSV file from my lakehouse as a pandas data frame and display the data. It looks good, but if we drill into this column with the bodies of the actual reviews, we notice, as we might expect, that they're very text heavy. What if there was a way to analyze them with AI seamlessly? Thanks to a new set of built-in user-friendly AI functions in Fabric, I can leverage AI to transform and enrich my data in just a single line of code. In this case, let's create a new column for sentiment values. I'm going to drill into the review body and thanks to IntelliSense get access to one of several AI functions that are instantly available in Fabric. Then I'll display the data. It takes a second to load, but once it does, we see that we have LLM enriched data right at our hands. We didn't need to bring in subscription keys, handle GPU infrastructure management, or any of that. And the results look pretty good. We can see how those LLM-generated sentiment values correspond or don't correspond with the star ratings, whether the text is positive or negative, or even, if it's a little bit more complex. Let's scroll down to another example where the sentiment is neutral, and it looks like that's a pretty accurate sum up of the review itself. We can go ahead now and do something a little bit more ambitious. Without needing to read all of that review text, which is still pretty extensive, I might want to use one of my AI functions to classify the reviews into custom categories. that will reflect the issues the customers have or the things the customers like about their clothing. So here I'll provide 5 categories: color, size and fit, material, value, and then a 5th catch-all category. And once that loads, let's see how the AI function did. We can head over to the new classification column and see how those values compare to the original reviews. So we might start with one about the material and notice that the customer said it was uncomfortable. In a review about the fit, we see that the AI function got that right. And another material review mentioned sweat stains. So it looks like our AI functions did a pretty good job. I could keep going, but for now, as a next step, let me write this data frame back to my lakehouse. Then, thanks to Direct Lake mode, I can visualize some of this enriched data in Power BI in no time. Here we have that lakehouse table, which features the new columns that I've added using my AI functions. There's those sentiment values and the custom classification values. I'm going to switch views here, add this data to my semantic model, and open up a Power BI report. When I do that, we'll see a few visualizations that I took care of in advance with the original data, including a pie chart of the fabric and a table of those reviews. But I can now bring in a slicer with those customer issues that have been generated by AI, and I can also bring in a graph showing those AI-generated sentiment values. And from here, I can slice and dice, I can drill down further, and I have the benefit of these new insights that have come from AI really simply in just a few lines of code. That's just the beginning of what we can do with AI functions. We can't wait for you to explore more and tell us what you think.
All right, that sums up my the first part on Fabric. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of what is available today in the product. And of course, we are going to add more feature as we develop the product further and further. All right, so I think it's time now to go back to John, who is going to take it over from there.
Yeah, Pascal, great presentation. Wow, data agents, AI functions. I mean, just the ecosystem continues to grow. Very excited. So real quick, we're going to do a quick poll. Which best describes your current AI analytics data platform approach? Multiple islands of data and disconnected tools. Do you have data lakes plus warehouse combos, primarily using Power BI and other reporting tools? Or do you have a unified modern cloud platform? So if everybody just wants to spend a minute, just update where you're at. It'd be interesting to see the data come in. Right, multiple disconnected tools is leading the race at 45. It looks like we got a tie with primary Power BI and disconnected tools. Very few companies looks like have data lakes or a unified cloud platform. So a lot of opportunities there. So good. All right. With that said, we'll go ahead and exit out of the survey. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we're going to turn it over to Mr. Rastia to close us out.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Pascal, for that. I mean, as I kind of look at some of these tools available now, I just always kind of quickly, go back to where were these tools 10 years ago when I was kind of starting a lot of my data careers and putting these things together. Just absolutely amazing. So I just give you a chance to kind of get over to that. We'll just get a quick rundown on it. So as we kind of look at this, I mean, after Pascal's wonderful presentation, just absolutely, Azure's that foundation that actually powers it. So looking at Azure's that engine, and Fabric is the driver. By sitting on there, and Greg just kind of pointed out, by being leveraging Fabric on top of Azure allows us to put all the security and compliances that we've already built into it, but it adds on that layer to the capabilities to not only put things out to reports, as a consumable to our users, but also to those bots. And those bots can be, things like, telephony or IVR bots or chat bots, or just simply just agents, just giving them the ability to search on that data very, very quickly. So, I mean, with that particular platform, we get the business outcomes that we do need. So in these next couple examples, I want to kind of take you down in a couple different things that we've did. In this first example, we actually kind of pulled in this particular report that was actually kind of taking not only from Dataverse capabilities and features, but from their Oracle databases as well. So kind of like what you saw in Pascal's presentation, pulling those pieces up into the data lake, we made things very straightforward. So in this capability, in this particular use case, the customer, wanted to see that, real-time data to quickly spot some of the outliers and alerts that inform them. They wanted to keep track of open outstanding cases based on priority and the request types. They also wanted to get the right insight into average how quickly cases were being resolved based upon the current customer service representative and highlight those issues that may remain unsolved for long periods of times. After the customer was actually serviced, the feedback score stored in an on-prem data source needed to highlight the relative performance of that customer service representative. So really, this dashboard allowed that particular team manager to take decisive actions and address and correct issues to improve the overall branding and the image of the company very quickly to spot out those areas. In the next example, we had built out, customer service dashboard that was linked together not only from their customer service databases, but also from their sales. So this could really show, if there was any correlation, since better customer service could lead to better word of mouth advertising. These insights could reinforce the need for strong customer service inside the company. And likewise, a lot of the insights into the sales growth could help, prepare the customer service team and plan for growth as necessary. When these dashboards were automatically updated regularly, or they're provided to you in near real-time intervals, it makes the teams more adaptable and a lot more responsive to that. So again, combining those data sources into nice visuals, like this, it really helped the company understand where their performance needed to be relayed to, whether that's at the product level, an agent level, or customer level. We can highlight those easily. In the next examples, I really kind of want to go over is what are some of the best practices as we prepare for some of these. So as we look at adopting a data-first mindset, it really means treating Microsoft Fabric as a strategic enterprise platform rather than a single IT initiative. That success depends on organizational alignment where both business and IT jointly prioritizes data, onboarding, access, governance, and a lot of the insights that we see here. And with this, we really kind of see Fabric starts with a data-first mindset. This isn't just an IT implementation, it's an enterprise-wide shift. We need to align across the business and IT so everyone is working towards the same goals, getting data onboarded quickly, ensuring secure and governed access, and turning that data into trusted insights. With Fabric, it's important to start small and scale fast instead of trying to solve everything at once. We focus on a few high impact use cases, maybe from an executive dashboard or from a customer 360-degree view or financial forecasting. These quick wins prove the value of Fabric and create excitement and build the trust needed to scale across the enterprise. The goal isn't to rip and replace, but to build a modernization roadmap that leverages what you already have while moving forward toward a unified platform. Next slide. So as we look at this, a strong readiness strategy for Fabric starts with a clear inventory of all existing data sources, documentation of business critical data and reporting needs, and a licensing evaluation to decide between capacity and pay-as-you-go different models as it offers. Before rolling out Fabric, we need a solid readiness strategy. That means taking stock of every existing data source, as I meant, and as Pascal proved out, we can actually go across, whether that's on-prem, that's cloud, structured, unstructured data, but we need to identify what is the most, critical, business data. So again, looking at governance and security, are at the heart of Fabric adopting. I know Pascal went through that very, very quickly, but you saw embedded areas where we can actually build into that security and governance. Those are the tools that are, governed by either a team of administrators or one administrator. So we always ask for that businesses to really kind of say, hey, we need a team or a person to administer this because we want a user that's going to be responsible. The tools are built into that we can ensure that they're just not enabling insights, but they're doing it responsibly and securely using the tools. In the next piece here, we really kind of want to talk about this as I summarize, all these different data ways, that, honestly, how do we, if we're using Dynamics 365, we want to actually, Fabric can unify that data estate by bridging multiple islands of data into a one lake, enabling seamlessly analytics across all your Dynamics 365 CE, that's your sales, customer service, field service, just to name a few, and ERP, again, signs your finance, your supply chain, applications, and all the other data, pieces that we talked about, without having, very heavy ETL dependencies. Many of the organizations today that we deal with are really stuck with those islands of data. Basically, whether that be in CRM or a little bit here and a little bit of ERP there, a lot of the businesses apps everywhere else can contain little, pockets of data. Fabric changes that way that we bring all of that together into that one lake. This means we can actually run seamless analytics across not only your other islands of data, but again, I don't know if you quickly saw that, but there are connectors, and one of that main connector is Dataverse inside of that Dynamics 365. So really, the whole value of Fabric is the democratization of that data. Business users no longer need to wait in line for IT. They can actually spin up some of these Power BI dashboards on their side to run their own queries, or even use that low-code AI tools right on top of the Fabric data. That shift removes the bottlenecks, speeds up decision making, and helps the entire organization act on insights in real time. This side-by-side comparison is really aimed at really helping those that, if you've got, Dynamics 365 and, what that can do on itself, but when you add on Dynamics 365 plus Fabric, here's really what you get to see in here. And I'm not going to clean this entire slide here, but what you can see down in different areas on the first one, that data scope area. Again, if you're looking at your AI business only applications, it's more focused on operational data, right? What are those transactions? What are the touch points? But because I can actually add on Fabric on top of that, it can combine those data sources, as I showed in those other examples, to really kind of give insight into that data that we needed. But as we kind of add on top of that, what Dynamics 365 is not going to be enabled you to do, or only in that small area, is around governance and security. Once you release some of these reports, we have to think about these things as you release Power BI reports. With Fabric, those tools are built in. Those security measures and regulatory rules are baked into the tool set. So when we release dashboards, when we release agents, the data that they have right access to is all the information that they need in there, which is going to keep the cost efficiency down and really help you expand your investment, not only into D365, AI business processes, but Fabric on top of that is going to really, allow you to take it to the next level. Okay, back over to you, Greg.
Yeah, John, thanks for the data points. And again, as you start looking at your data strategy, your AI strategy, we found that the majority of constituents did not have a modern data state in play. We're just as a reminder, we're going to send the recording out with the webinar information. We're going to have the PDF of the deck that we presented, and then a couple blogs as well. So as you start your journey, start thinking through, the framework, the basics, the start of, the shifts that you're looking to incorporate. Real quick, we are going to do another survey. What's your top priority for data and analytics the next 12 months? Looks like, We have stronger governance and compliance. That's a good one. Real-time analytics, faster insight and decision-making. Access to information, is critical. And, we heard the term islands of data throughout the organization. We have customers that have 150 different data sources, and think of, the time in which it takes to search and find and hunt for the appropriate data to have a conversation is pretty significant. So interesting scores from that standpoint. And it looks like faster insights and decision-making is the critical number one. AI and Copilot enablement, number two. Real-time analytic capabilities and stronger governance and compliance, number three. Cost optimization. Not a lot of folks focused on that area from that standpoint. So good stuff. Well, real quick, as we kind of move into questions and answers, just again, another reminder, we do have another fireside chat coming up October 29th. Arnold Leap was the former CIO of 1-800-Flowers. He has gone through this journey from a customer service perspective, a data and AI perspective. Really excited to have Arnold on the next session. He's going to talk about his industry insights and expertise. In addition, Pooja, who leads the Microsoft product team for AI and intelligent apps, she's going to talk about it from a software publisher perspective. And then John Rastia, our CTO, EVP of strategy, is going to speak about what we're seeing from a consulting side. So highly recommend, that people sign up and attend this webinar. It's going to be a great time and a great event from that standpoint. So with that said, if you have a question, throw it in the chat window, and we'll go ahead and respond to that next couple minutes. I'm going to start with the first question, and I'm going to push this to Pascal. Pascal, how would you measure success with Fabric? Besides the typical cost savings and efficiency gains, what are some of the KPIs that you've seen your customers benefit from?
Well, they would typically account for the number of different roles that are interacting with Fabric. Because if it's only the data engineers doing SQL statements, well, that's only a subset of the value. And so the more different roles are touching Fabric, from the data scientist, data engineer, business users, etc., the better it is. We didn't develop things about data lineage, data governance, purview, etc., but that's how they think about it. I mean, the more folks are touching the platform, and the higher the ROI is going to be, because all of a sudden the business user is not kind of trying to figure out which data sources to go to. They go to one entry point, which is Fabric. We allow row level security and or column level security. So it means that permissions are always kind of honored. We will never give access to data to somebody who is not supposed to get access to that data. But think about the notion of having both structured and unstructured data being available to you without you having to think twice about where it's coming from. Is it up to date? That's how you measure basically success.
Yeah, data integrity. And when you get that buy-in from the business, to your point, the more people involved, the more value and benefits you're going to receive. Great insight. Great insight. John, from your point of view, what excites you most about data, business apps, and Copilot from a transformation perspective? What are some of the things that you're looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, great. Greg, I mean, when we're looking at this, the connectors now into Copilot Studio and the Microsoft Copilot agents really connects, all of our agents to the right data at the right time. I mean, we're really empowering our agents to be successful in so many different ways. We've had different customers, not only look at it from a data perspective and asking it questions about orders and shipments and cases and quotes and what have you, but we've also been able to leverage this by uploading, the training documents and different, product specs to this. So we haven't, been able to shorten that, the time that it takes to train agents effectively and get them out the door. And then again, giving them the right tools. So it really, really makes them very, very successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a transformational shift going on that if you're not focused on, you'll get left behind. So I think the webinar today discussed a couple key areas and entry points for enriching your Fabric data with your business data, aligning IT to the business to really focus on those use cases and business outcomes. On behalf of everyone at CompuSoft Digital, I'd like to thank the speakers. Pascal, thank you, sir. Just a wealth of information, insight. Highly recommend that everyone connect with Pascal on LinkedIn. Same with Mr. John Rossiya. Thank you for the insight. And for everyone that attended, thank you for your time. Appreciate everyone joining. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, as a reminder, we will have a landing page that will have the webinar recording, the PDF of the pitch deck. We'll have 3 data blogs that support this particular topic, and then a data deck as well. So feel free to reach out with any questions. Again, on behalf of CompuSoft Digital, thank you for your time. And this concludes the session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.